Hello everybody, this is Tucker Miller here again, and tonight, like I said, for my next movie review, I'm going to be reviewing on Mr. Peabody and Sherman. Came out in 2014. So, the plot of this movie is we got this dog named Mr. Peabody. He lives with his adopted son named Sherman, and Mr. Peabody and Sherman like to go time traveling through the past together in their time machine called The Way Back. And then meanwhile, Sherman went to school, and then there's this girl named Penny who was picking on Sherman. So yeah, Sherman got in trouble for biting her arm, and yeah. And then there's this social worker named Miss Grunion who tells Mr. Peabody that she will be conducting an investigation on Sherman, and if she finds Mr. Peabody as an unfit parent, he will have Sherman permanently removed from his custody. So, yeah, and then Mr. Peabody invited Penny and her family for dinner, and Sherman told Penny about the way back, even though he's not supposed to. And then things got totally out of control, and everything got so out of hand, and so it's up to Sherman, Penny, and Mr. Peabody to fix everything, and that's basically what the plot is. Now, what do I have to say about Mr. Peabody and Sherman? I really enjoyed Mr. Peabody and Sherman. It is a great DreamWorks film from 2014. I'm going to say this. Haven't watched this film since 2016. I recently revisited it on my last night in South Padre. So yeah, I watched it on my last night during my trip to South Padre. My last night there, so yeah. And I have to say, Mr. Peabody and Sherman still holds up to this day. It's a really good movie. So yeah. Now let's talk about the characters. Mr. Peabody is a great character. He's probably my favorite character from that movie. So yeah. He's a great character. Sherman, he's a great character as well. And he is voiced by Max Charles, who later voiced Kion off of The Guard, which Guard is a pretty good show. I've been watching it as of recently. I'll probably review on Guard at some other time. But we're focusing on Mr. Peabody and Sherman right now, so yeah. I have to say Max Charles did a great job voicing Sherman. So yep. Penny, she's a great character, although at first she was not nice to Sherman, but later on in the movie, she was nicer. She was nice towards him. So yeah. Yeah. So yeah, Penny, she's a great character. Her parents were pretty good too. Miss Grunion, she's a weak villain. It's just that she wants to take Sherman away from Mr. Peabody. It's just, wow. And then she will call the cops on Mr. Peabody. Like, wow. I'll talk about that in a little bit. So, yeah. Mr. Agamemnon, if I'm pronouncing his name right, he's a great character. And I definitely have to say, Patrick Warburton did a great job voicing him. You know, Patrick Warburton which we all know him as Joel Swanson off of Family Guy, and he was Kronk from The Emperor's New Groove, and also he was in another DreamWorks. Patrick Warburton was in another DreamWorks movie, which that would be he played Ken off of the B movie. So yeah, and also Miss Grunyon's actress, she was also in another DreamWorks film, which that would be she would voice Gladys Sharp, who is the original Karen off of Over the Hedge. So yeah. Yeah, I already reviewed on both B movie and Over the Hedge. So yeah. Now we're reviewing on Mr. Peabody and Sherman. So yeah. Yeah, I enjoy. Yeah, Mr. Agamemnon, if I'm pronouncing his name right, he's a great character, and Patrick Warburton did a great job voicing him. And who else I want to talk about? Leonardo da Vinci. He's a great character. Although I know Leonardo da Vinci was a real person. I know who he is. He's an artist. He painted the Mona Lisa, and he's also an inventor. So yeah, Leonardo da Vinci, he's a great character. King Tut, who was also a real person. He's great, and yeah. This movie has a lot of famous people in it, like people from history, like like some of the presidents, like George Washington. I think Abraham Lincoln, and then there was other people like Beethoven, like I said, Leonardo da Vinci, King Tut, and then yeah, and there was a lot of famous people from the past, and also, oh yeah, Benjamin Franklin, I believe, made an appearance. So yeah, there's a lot of great people that made history in this film, like, presidents and etc., music artists, and yeah, people from the past. So yeah. Yeah, if you're really into history, this is a movie definitely for you. So yeah. Yeah, it has a lot of great famous people in history. So yeah. Now let's talk about some scenes. There's some great scenes. The scene where Mr. Peabody was, with the flashback, how Mr. Peabody met Sherman when he was only a baby. That was just a very heartwarming scene. And when Mr. Peabody adopted him, it's just very very heartwarming. And the song "Beautiful Boy," that was a great song. And yeah, that was a great scene. And other scenes I would want to talk about, or when Sherman and Penny were flying the plane, or something like that. I believe is a point, like a point where, yeah, they were flying around the city. That was a great scene, and yeah, there was some really good scenes. And are there any bad scenes? Yeah, well, yeah, there are some few bad scenes. The scene where the fight at the cafeteria where Sherman bits Penny's arm. Wow, that was just a terrible scene. Like, wow. And the scene where Mr. Peabody bits Miss Grunyon's arm. Like, oh, wow. Just insane. I really don't like that scene either. And the scene where Mr. Peabody was getting arrested. I didn't like that scene either. And another scene I could talk about where where Sherman stands up for Mr. Peabody and everyone was saying that they're dogs too. That was a really good scene. But just the scene where when Mr. Peabody was getting arrested just kind of breaks my heart. But you know. But I do like the scene where Sherman stands up for him. And yeah, has some really good scenes. And some not so good scenes. So, yeah. Is there any other? Those are some scenes I can think of on top of my head, and yeah. Yeah, in this movie, Mr. Peabody and Sherman, this movie is directed by the same person who did The Lion King, the animated one from 1994. So yeah, I'll review on Lion King next year, and yeah. This movie is directed by the same person who did The Lion King, and not to mention Stuart Little. So yeah. And this movie is based on the cartoon from like the 60s or 70s. I'm not sure. If you guys know when the original cartoon is made, or maybe I could look it up on Google. But I'm sure it's like 60s or 70s. Or it could be 50s. But I'm sure it's sometime in the 60s. Or maybe early 70s. So, yeah. That's what this movie is based on. The cartoon. So, yeah. So, yeah. Now, that's all I can say about Mr. Peabody and Sherman. So, now, I'm going to give Mr. Peabody and Sherman an 8 out of 10. This film does have a few flaws. Honestly. So, yeah, but not a bad movie. It's still an enjoyable movie. I don't mind going back to it again. So, yeah. So anyways, that is it for my movie review on Mr. Peabody and Sherman. And stay tuned for my next movie review, which will be on How to Train Your Dragon 2. But until then, see you in the next video. Bye.